Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Global Card Collectors. I'm Justin again, stepping in for an episode here. And this is an episode that I have looked forward to doing for a very, very long time. For anybody who's stuck with the channel for a while, I think the first time I popped on with Will was, I want to say January of 23, I think, maybe it was 24, I guess 24. And in that episode, I spoke about a mysterious figure known as the Godfather who got me back into collecting through a very generous gift of a 1989 Topps traded Barry Sanders rookie card. So in other words, that was the spark for all of the collection that's happened since then. Of course, he's blacklisted from our house by my wife, but that's okay because I'm very thankful that he got me back into it. And today, finally was able to get on the show my good friend Jason, aka the Godfather, who not only is responsible for getting me back into collecting, but also has been a very good personal friend for about 20 years now, which means we're getting old. But he is somebody we've been to shows together. We've talked endlessly about cards. We got a text group where we show cards, and a lot of my collecting's been influenced by what he does. So we're going to get on here. We're going to talk about some cards. He's going to show some cards. But first off, Jason, man, it's good to finally get you on here. Get the Godfather in person on the channel.
Well, it's an honor in many respects to be called that in regards to this endeavor. I never expected it. So that one card that it would lead to this. But so proud of you. So proud of you, Justin.
That means everything. That's this seeking the vindication of the Godfather. It doesn't get any better than that.
And please forgive me, Nancy. So
yeah, I'm not sure that my wife's ever going to quite forgive you, but yeah. But I certainly am happy to have been, introduced back into the hobby, and it was amazing just how that one card kind of sparked things for me, and that's how I got back in. But if you want to maybe start off by just talking a little bit about your path as a collector, kind of like, I know we came up both in the junk wax era and everything, but you got back in a little before I did. So just a little bit about how you started as a kid and how you ended up jumping back in.
Yeah, I would say 1991 for us, Michigan, like lower Michigan guys, as kids. 1991 was a huge year for a number of reasons, but one in particular was our beloved Detroit Lions. And I was also in fourth grade at the time, so I'd have been 9. And my teacher, Mrs. Lowe, her husband Tim, would trade cards with us. So at the same time that I had a cousin who was getting me into watching football, which was a beautiful time to start, I also had a teacher that had a husband who was super into it as well. And we could bring in cards like any day of the week and give them to Mrs. Lowe, and she would take them home, and Tim would, even if they were just full of commons at the time, like he would take them and then he would give us something in return. I remember taking in it was like the Score franchise Jose Canseco card, like where he's like shirtless and like taking a swing, First of all, I was kind of uncomfortable owning that card anyway, just the picture of it. But I knew it was worth $2 thanks to Beckett. And so I took that in. He gave me 20 cards with a note that said, that card's kind of valuable, so here's a bunch of cards in return, which probably still didn't add up to that card. But anyway, it was, so that's what kind of got me in. And then they were young and they didn't have any kids at the time. And I'm an only child. And they actually invited me, which nowadays it'd be like, oh, that's kind of weird. But they invited me over, like around Christmas time. They invited me over, and I had dinner with Tim and Mrs. Lowe, and we talked about cards. And I think he even gave me like a pack of cards as a gift. And for the next 3 years, I would stop over and drop off like a Precious Moments thing for Mrs. Lowe, and then a card or two or something for Tim, and he'd give me something in return. He even took me to a couple card shows. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Tim played a pretty pivotal role in all of that. So my love for the early 90s Lions, which is besides the 50s is our golden era. And then Tim reinforcing it with the actual cardboard portion of it, the collecting portion of it, was a huge deal. And I don't know if you want me to like jump into. I mean, I have some cards that I'll share later, but one trade that he made with me that was actually in person. It wasn't like, I was probably in 6th grade at that time. Yeah. But there was one trade that he made with me that I think kind of got me hooked, if I wasn't already, because like you said, it was the junk era. So we didn't know it at the time. We thought no clue. And especially if like we got a Topps with a gold name on it, we were like, oh man, this has got to be worth like $4, so
the logic was, anyway, right? We saw all these vintage cards that over time were so high up in value. We're like, oh, as these get older, these will go up too. I mean, it's so funny just to hear you talk about this because, back in the day, just packs, commons of your favorite players, those went right in the binder. Those were great pools. You were excited to get, a base 1991 Fleer Barry Sanders or something, right?
Yeah.
It was, it was such a different way to come up in collecting that I feel like kids now. I was talking about this on the last pod I did with Will about the National, and it's like you'll see kids in 6th grade walking around with Zion cases with $20,000-$30,000 worth of graded cards in there, and it's like it's such a different approach to it, and I feel like all the nostalgia is coming back for me as you talk about this because it's kind of the same way. You get a pack of cards, you're looking for your favorite player, you're looking to complete a set, and that's a portion, that's a part of the hobby that I feel like was so just, I guess, magical at that time as a kid. Just to get anything of your favorite player was such a big deal. So, but yeah, I'm excited to hear about the trade though.
The trade. Okay. Well, to your point, though, before I get to the trade, we had a card shop in Elma. For those of you who are viewing and know anything about Mid-Michigan, at the time, Mount Pleasant, where I live now and where Justin grew up, and Elma were like, we weren't on the same level as far as the number of kids, but when it came time for football, huge competitors. But anyway, I lived in enemy territory to you.
Yeah, we were high school rivals in football back then, which is hilarious.
Yeah. We missed each other by just 2 years, but it was close. But we had a card shop called Cardboard Addiction, which is just a perfect name for a card shop. And it bounced around in different places. I think it was in the old IGA at one point. But I vividly remember going in, the smell of that card shop, and then seeing the rack that you could turn. Instead of comic books, it was the Beckett's, right? Mm-hmm. And so you'd go in there, and at the time you'd spend $1.50 or $2 for a Beckett and find out the two designations, mint or common, or mint or whatever. I forget the second, near mint or something. There wasn't 50,000 different designations.
It was, I think it was mint or near mint.
Yeah, near mint, I think. And then you'd buy a ton of the sleeves where you could put the 9 cards in. Drove me nuts that you had to buy separate ones for the horizontal cards. It's crazy, but you'd end up spending, so much more on all this extra stuff, binders and everything than you did actually on the cards, because you could buy a pack of cards for like Upper Deck $1.29 for probably 20 cards in the pack, and it's like. And no inserts. I mean, very few. Like that's when they started introducing inserts. So back to my story. Speaking of inserts, there was a mail-in insert for the 1993 Topps baseball set, and it was the Topps Black Gold.
Black Gold.
Yeah. So there was an A, B, C, D set. I don't remember which one Ken Griffey Jr. was in, or Barry Bonds. I'm sure that's the only card that's worth. Those are the only cards that are actually worth, like $4 or $5. But at the time, like it was a mail-in set. So you'd get a card that said, mail this in, and have A, B, C, D, or A, B, C. I think I got the A, B one. And like my parents were excited about it. Like it was like a big family event. Like, holy cow, I got this card. So I mail it in. And I don't know if you had to add a couple packs or something, like empty packs with it. Just a way to get you to buy more cards as a kid, right?
Of course.
But I mailed it in, and I got this set, or 2 sets, 2 of the 4 sets, and I took it and I showed it to Tim. And Tim, it's hilarious to think back on it, because I'm thinking back and I'm like, was he trying to take advantage of me as a kid? No, I don't like, but he's like, I'll trade you for that set. And I'm like, insecure, probably fifth, sixth grader at this point, And I'm like, my mom and dad might not be happy with me, And so I said no, but I knew what the offer was on the table. And then I talked to my parents and they said, if you want to, you're more than welcome to. And so we ended up going back like the next day to their house, and I brought my AB black gold top set, and he gave me, well, one which I should just give to your brother, but a Shaquille O'Neal like McDonald's rookie card thing that I mean, maybe graded it'd be worth more than the other two combined. I don't even know, but he can have it. And the other one was a 1975 Hank Aaron mini. Topps mini.
Okay.
And which it's at the end of his career with the Brewers, but it's
I remember that.
Holy cow! Yeah, I now have a Hank Aaron card. Like, that's crazy. But the one that really got me was the 1978 Tony Dorsett rookie card. I had read a book when I was in fourth grade in Mrs. Lowe's class, like an autobiography that Tony Dorsett wrote. I mean, I think he's in the Broncos uniform on the cover, which is weird to see him in that. But but I remember I borrowed it from another friend, also named Jason, because his dad was a big Broncos fan. And so I was like, dude, I read a story about this guy. He told me a story, and now I have his rookie card, And again, at the time, 2 designations, right? So near mint, and mint was like $32.
Whoa.
And so I'm like, this is the most valuable card I'll probably ever own. And then all of a sudden, you remember those black arrows, either up or down? That
yes, I do. You looked at those every month.
All of a sudden, Topps black gold the next month is down. Like, everything is down, because I think Beckett realized, there's a lot more of these available than we originally thought. So, but I really do think it was just a gift. I mean, Tim just wanted me to have something that was truly vintage, and just something to hold on to that was a little bit more meaningful than the shiny stuff, it pales in comparison to the shiny stuff today. But I can't, I'm forever grateful, obviously, for that experience, and so that's awesome. Cool.
And for anybody who's not huge into football, Tony Dorsett, one of the greatest backs to ever live, his rookie card in that 78 set. Do you still have it?
Oh yeah. Well, that's another story, but I have 2 of them now. So I don't know. I can share that for later if you want me to. But yeah, I actually have 2 of them now, and I mean, neither one of them are in they wouldn't grade a 10 for sure. But no, I don't know if many in that set do grade a 10. So it's a pretty rough set. So.
That's a great card. That's a tough set. That's a great card though. And I was that kind of, so it's interesting too, because I'd heard that story before, and it always kind of was interesting to me that it was a gifted card that kind of got you into the hobby initially too. But was that kind of, because now obviously, vintage football is your deal. That's the rabbit hole you're down. Was that kind of your entry point into vintage football, getting that 78 Dorsett? And was that something you started collecting? I actually don't know the answer to this. Was that something you started collecting vintage after you got that as a kid, or was it something you picked back up later on when you jumped back into the hobby?
So I think that just my love, instant love of football, when my cousin, and that's another story entirely, but my cousin Marty, like I said, I didn't have any siblings. My aunt and uncle lived right next door to us, and my cousin Marty was the closest thing to a brother that I had, but he was 10 years older than I was. Mm-hmm. But it was that year, it would have been 91, that he introduced me to the game of football. And then incidentally, it was one of the best years the Lions had, in history of their franchise. But so I think I was instantly hooked. And so as much as I enjoyed, playing baseball as a kid, mm-hmm. or watching the Tigers, Mickey Tettleton was my favorite player, which probably most people are like, who?
I think you and I might be the only 2 people that see this.
Did he mean a different Mickey? I don't know. Yeah, but Mickey Tettleton, look him up. And he's got the coolest stance ever in the batter's box.
Very unorthodox.
But I just, something about football, that's what I latched onto. But I didn't start collecting. It wasn't like as a kid, who has the money to start going and even at card shops, what was available. It's that's just astronomically out of my price range. Mm-hmm. I got to stick to packs or maybe a card or two once in a while under $10. So like I picked up like Barry Sanders Pro Set, rookie at the time in the back of IGA, Cardboard Addiction. But no, I did, when we did stop at card shops, if we randomly saw them in other towns, like I would ask them if they had any 1978 tops. And so by the time I was like out of school, I probably had a stack like this, big of 1978 tops, but it definitely in a vain attempt to like, complete the set. But yeah, that didn't happen in my childhood. So it was more just packs every once in a while. And seriously, probably about the time that you picked up like more in like the basketball, the late 90s basketball, that kind of, and even football. Like you talk a lot about late 90s football.
Yeah.
That's when I started getting out. It was like, I don't know, like I was later in high school and we did start doing fantasy football. But manually scoring. But yeah, that's where my old collection kind of runs out, is in the mid to later 90s.
Because you and I are a couple years apart, and I think that you started around the same time, but I hung on till about 98, and that's when I got out for a time. But you got back in more quickly than I did. I can't remember exactly which year, but what year? Because you jumped back in a couple years pre-COVID, yeah? Yeah, something I was thinking about when I knew we were going to talk today is,
so it was, officially got back in just pre-COVID, but there was a time, I think we were on a retreat, because Justin and I used to do several retreats with high school kids, and that's a whole other story, but it was awesome. But we were on a retreat, and some of this came up, I think. And so that would have been, I didn't leave that job until 2016. So it probably been like, I don't even know. Like it was a long time ago.
Must have been
and
like
I said,
something like that.
Yeah. And I said, hey, I have a box of cards, like one of those, flip box, just single row, down at my parents' house, because apparently after college, apparently after college, I forgot to clean up my old room, and then started working and just neglected it. And so I took you down there. I believe you went with me, didn't you?
I did. And I totally forgotten about this. That's hilarious. Yeah, we went searching for this album.
And dude, I gave you so many disclaimers about that room. I'm like,
it was not
don't
well
judge me. This is not it's worse than what I had left it at. I promise you that. But isn't there a show called Hoarders? I don't know. Anyway,
yes.
We may have been on it. But I had to track this down, and I looked in the closet. I had to move a bunch of stuff to get my closet stack on. And then I look underneath my dad's, where he has now a computer desk, and I see a box, and I'm like, that's it. Like I didn't have to go in the closet for it. So and that's where the Tony Dorsett was hiding, and the Hank Aaron, and some of the more special cards to me. So that's kind of where it was like, but that didn't really go anywhere at that point. I mean, it was cool to share that, just kind of show those with you and talk through some of those things, but and nothing of great value, obviously, not to anybody else but me. Maybe a Derek Jeter rookie card in there, gold, top gold.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
Which was legit. I did get that out of a pack. But yeah, it was 2019. I'm a kindergarten teacher now, which is a crazy story in and of itself. But we had so many snow days in 2019, and so I was like, you know what? I guess I will go purge like things in my room. So old video games, and found a bunch of cards and brought them back. A friend of mine had talked about eBay, so I sold some stuff on eBay. And then I realized I can buy things on eBay that I've always wanted as a child.
It's funny how it changes the hobby for you when you realize you're not locked into the dollar pack of Upper Deck anymore. And you're like, oh, wow. Right. And also just access, right? Because like Jason said, we both grew up in very small towns in mid-Michigan. Alma being even smaller than, where you live now, and where I grew up in Mount Pleasant. But it's, like as to where, living in Chicago, I had access to all sorts of card shops there where I could go in and compare stuff. There's shows that I can go to regularly. Even down here in Tampa, the scene's not quite as robust, but there's still stuff there. Like living in Mount Pleasant, it's like eBay changes the whole game. Now you have access to cards outside of the 15 options at your local card shop or something like that. Like eBay was a game changer for where you don't have much access. So so I imagine that was like that opens up a whole new world.
Yeah, and I started very small, like, and I really haven't. Every person who's addicted to something says it hasn't gotten too out of control, but I really don't think it has. So I'm a minimalist when it comes to collecting as an adult. So I try to be very specific, but for instance, the card that kind of was my gateway back into it was actually a Chris Spielman rookie card. I was just like, I just want a Chris Spielman rookie card. And so I looked up Chris Spielman.
Is the Lions legend, by the way. Probably greatest, other than Joe Schmidt, probably the greatest linebacker in team history. And he was our childhood. So I myself have several Chris Spielmans laying around as well, including that very rookie card that you're referencing.
Yeah. So I like some guy was selling like the 3, which isn't actually technically his second year, but it was his third because he wasn't really like obviously a very popular player, especially coming out of Ohio State. Nobody really likes nobody really likes those guys. But no, but he. So I got
coming somewhere.
Yeah, I told Isaiah the other day because we did go to the day of training camp and we saw Spielman down on the field with his gorilla arms hanging down, and I said, he's from Ohio State. He went to Ohio State in college. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. He's like, wow. I was like, well, we got a couple Ohio State guys on the team now. It's okay. It's all right.
I block out the fact that Hutch went to Michigan. So I actually I haven't sent you this yet. I picked up a Hutch Immaculate RPA the other day.
Nice.
Because he was the only kind of current, really top line I didn't have. So I got a deal on one and grabbed it. But I try to block out that he's Michigan. So Jason and I, we root for the same pro teams, but college-wise, we're very split. Him and his son, both big Michigan fans. I'm a big Ohio State fan. So, of course, the last 4 years, I haven't wanted to talk to you guys about that game too much.
Yeah.
But it is not big.
Yeah. Nothing's been more shocking than that last one, though. But also, I think, isn't your son? He's kind of still leaning towards Michigan. Is that after Isaiah's attempt to?
So my son was tricked into picking Isaiah. His son's much older than mine. He put down a piece of paper.
He chose where to go.
Ohio State and Michigan. My son, I think how old was he? He was like 8 months, and he crawled to the Michigan piece of paper. It was we're undoing that. We're trying to re-indoctrinate him. He has a Brutus the Buckeye shirt now and everything. So
when we were at the training camp, somebody yelled out that somebody named Howard that used to play for Michigan or used to play for Detroit was there, and I'm thinking like only Howard. I think it was Desmond Howard, and I played for him like a year, maybe 2.
Yeah,
like the last year of his career. So I turn around and sure enough, there's Desmond Howard, and so Isaiah and I go hop in line, and you could either get a picture or a signature. And Isaiah did the right thing and he got a signature. But we both got handshakes and it's not going to change for Isaiah, but it just got hardened even more by meeting Desmond Howard in person. So it was pretty cool. But
that is actually awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, 2019, Chris Spielman. So I just saw this guy who had like 3, of his first cards for each of the major brands at that time, and I was like, $1. I'll pay $1 for that. So that's kind of where it started. And then I actually brought a prop. And then it went back to it would have been like 1996, probably 97 when I was in middle school that we went to the Hall of Fame in Canton. And my parents took me down, my cousin Marty, who was like my brother, like I said, we all went down, and he had always had like, when he went as a kid, he always had like one of those souvenir balls that had all of the Hall of Fame signatures on it. Except at the time they would all fit. Now they obviously wouldn't fit on probably 4 or 5. But he had that on his shelf in his room. And I thought he was cool. So I was like, I got to get something, but I can't get the same thing. So I got the Lions version of it, which
nice.
So much more space, especially at that time. I think there were 11 Hall of Famers in the mid 90s. But so I brought this. This is the actual football. So you've got all the Hall of Famers at that time who played predominantly with the Lions. There's a few more that played with other teams, but and so in 2019, I got out my old Lions book. I got that souvenir, or I got that little thing too, where I drew our players, and sadly, the top and center is Scott Mitchell. But we do have Chris Spielman, a sticker remnant apparently. Herman Moore, Jason Hansen made the cut, but and of course Barry in the middle. But I never finished Jason Hansen. But we had so many snow days, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finish drawing Jason Hansen.
That's awesome.
And so did that, and then like all this kind of like, I guess I was just super bored. We had 3 kids at the time. Now we have 4. I don't know if I would have had Ella here, I don't think I would have done it. But I decided, I was like, you know what? I just want each of these players like first Detroit Lions, like in a Detroit Lions uniform card. Nice. It's not even a rookie card, but in their first uniform card. And then in the meantime, I was like, I also want to just get some of my childhood icons that played in Detroit sports, like, hockey. So, Steve Yzerman and I was always a big Joe Dumars fan. So Joe Dumars, I just want to get their rookie cards. And so that's what I did. It was very simple. And that's kind of where it all started. And in that process, it was like a lot of 7 of the Topps traded Barry Sanders 1989 rookie cards for like $17, and I think I sold one for like 24, resold one for 24. So wow. That makes up the difference and some. So I had like 5 of them. I gave one to Marty. I think there was a friend from high school named John, Joe, a mutual friend of ours. I gave one to Joe, but I think it all started with giving one to you. And I saw the reaction, and I was like, wow, that was like, it really was like, filling up my own cup by filling up yours. So the best part of the hobby.
I feel like that is such a thing, is to where, getting to give someone a card, even it doesn't have to be valuable. And that is so much of what I think is getting lost in a lot of areas of the hobby these days. It's like, and to each their own. If what people want to do and they have the means to do is collect super high-end stuff, invest, or just, have collections that are really high-end, super high-graded, great. But I say this all the time when people, I have a couple friends right now who are looking at getting into cards, and they're like, how much do you think I have to spend to enjoy this? I'm like, look at what you want, right? That's the first thing to do. What am I interested in? Because I have cards that are worth higher amounts of money, and then I have cards that I love tons that are worth $5. That Topps traded Barry Sanders is probably a $15 card. I love that card. I have a, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, 1999 passing the torch, not the auto that's worth $15,000, but just the regular one numbered to 1,500. That's about a $25, $30 card. I love that card. So it's, you don't have to, spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, because there's, very likely to be things you connect with, things you enjoy that are also less pricey. And I think, in vintage, there's actually a lot of opportunities for that, because you still primarily now, right? Like, your home base is Lions team collecting.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, and to be honest with you, Justin, I don't think I've bought a card. I mean, it's been several months. And what I usually do is I just kind of put a bug in, like, especially my parents' ear, like when it comes time for Father's Day or birthday or something. I'm just like, I'll be wise with it. But if you just want to give me like an eBay card or something, I can figure it out from there. But even this last time, like, I invested in a few used baseball gloves for our family to play baseball in the yard.
That's cool.
Which is great. But it was the first time in a really long time I didn't use something that was given to me as a gift to buy a card. So yeah, but it's very, very, modest. Like I said, I mean, it's, like if I get, 3 to 5 new cards at this point, probably annually, it's like, that's probably pretty average, but they're meaningful. Like, that's the biggest thing that for me, it's like, if I'm going to get something, I want it to be something that I really think would be cool to add to a very specific, deliberate collection, or something that I think is super cool for, one of my kids to have in their collection too.
And that's where I think that, so you are very good about, I know Will always says that I'm a very targeted collector, but in comparison to you, I'm actually not, because I can go down, I'm very capable. I came back from the National thinking, you know what? I think I'm going to stick in this sort of vintage realm for a while, be it boxing or football. I don't feel like I'm going to be buying any of this 90s, 2000 stuff for a while. My first 2 purchases since I've been back from the National was, I told you, the Aiden Hutchinson 2023 immaculate, RPA, and then I bought a Drew Brees 2001 Bowman Chrome Refractor in SGC8. So it's like I'm very capable of kind of seeing a squirrel and going after it. Is to where with you, so within the Lions team collecting, what are some of the ways you determine who you're going to go after and how once you kind of got some cards of those Hall of Fame guys?
Well, I started with obviously just I wanted to have the score. Barry Sanders rookie card, of course. That was one growing up that was like always that card. You could instantly recognize Troy Aikman's face and Barry Sanders' face in that card. So starting with some of the guys from, so like I even got like, and this, I don't know if this will mean much to anybody listening to this other than you and me, but like even like Lomas Brown's rookie card. And,
you know what? I did a couple episodes on this show, on this channel way back, like a year or so ago, with a guy named Mike.
Yeah.
He is a Lomas Brown diehard. He buys Lomas Brown raw cards whenever he finds them in dollar boxes at shows. We probably talked about Lomas Brown for 5 minutes on here. So oddly enough, we now have guests that have gone on about Lomas Brown on this show. So wherever Lomas is, I'm sure he's happy to get a little publicity.
He walked by when we were actually looking, like trying to get autographs after, and because he's in the booth obviously every Sunday. I just cannot believe he's a tower. I mean, he's
massive.
He is mammoth. Anyway, I think I even picked up like Mike Kofer's rookie card. I mean, just like fun, cheap, 99-cent type stuff. Just grab it. But then it was like I said, going back to just kind of seeing the football and being like, oh yeah, like it'd be cool to have some of those. Players, especially those guys from the 50s. It'd be kind of cool to have their and like I said, not even their rookie cards. If it was their rookie card in a Lions uniform, fine. But I just wanted to see like a collection like of all of them in their Lions uniforms at any given time. And but then it started once we started talking and even came to visit you a couple times in Chicago. Like it was like, okay, like we're gonna go for the Lions Hall of Fame rookie cards. I mean, like I might as well. It's fine. Sarah, my wife, Sarah, she'll understand.
I'm glad you returned that influence. Like I'm glad that I could reciprocate giving you something. Well, it never ends. I mean, this family system we have, so it's always gonna we'll always keep going. But so so that's where it was really, is just Lions Hall of Famers. And then other players that I just, and cards that I coveted as a child would creep in there, so you think about, I won't say everybody, but I'll leave it at that for right now. But just, I have a hunch we might see some of those later. Outside of the Lions team collecting, but you said something that I really liked earlier in terms of being intentional about the card being meaningful. And, is there any way to articulate, like, what kind of makes that distinction for you? Like the kind of cards you connect with in vintage, like what is it about those that make you want that card to say, okay, I want that Joe Schmidt, or I want that Doak Walker, or whatever that may be?
Yeah, I think, two things. So one is actually having obviously, I mean, I encourage anybody who's really into this, like not from a money-making, investment type side of it, but more, I mean, even still, I think this would be obviously applicable probably to a greater degree, but especially if you're just trying to collect things that you like, just, I mean, make a simple list, like just have it there and just have those targets clearly defined. And then you'll find other, I know you use the phrase rabbit holes a lot, but like you'll find another rabbit hole you'll go down from there. Like, oh, well, just collecting, I was going to say Dutch Clark, but I don't even have his yet. So he's the one that I don't have, just, of course, you know that. But like Doak Walker, like you finally get, his first 3 cards. Và he only played for 6 seasons, right? So, and maybe it was 5 or 6 seasons. I might as well get all of his cards. And then in 52, I might as well get the mini too, So, I think that, as you go, like there's just, you find the paths you want to go down as long as you have a kind of a conviction on the starting point. And then the other thing is like, just like, I mean, going back to my days hanging out with Mrs. Lowe's husband, Tim, I mean, it's going to card shows and having somebody that, that's a friend or that you have a good relationship with, like going to those shows and having like this bonding experience, and accountability, but also encouragement to like, yeah, you should do that, or let's wait on that, let's go to this. And then all of a sudden, like anytime you go on a family vacation or something, you have a souvenir. It is, I mean, it's basically a souvenir of that time that you spent together. Whether it's a friend or your like your kids, you have that souvenir. So every time you look at that card, it's like, oh yeah, we were there, and that's what we talked about, and that was the dealer we got it from, and that's how cool they were. And yeah, I remember that conversation. So
and that's spot on. It's, so many of those cards are made more special by picking them up at shows. Like, as you and I, Jason and I have gone to, along with my brother and his son Isaiah, we've gone to the Chicago Sports Spectacular a couple times. Hopefully, get to do it again next year.
Right.
Because we got to go. We got to hit another show again. At some point down the line, because it does those moments where you're with somebody, because I know that, there were a couple purchases where I know we've egged each other on, and, that experience of getting it from the dealer, having somebody there with you, getting excited for the person picking up the card, it makes that card that much more meaningful. So I totally agree with that. And I've been lucky to be a part of a few of those pickups for you. And I think we'll probably see some of those a bit later, but I know too, you talked about this 78 top set earlier, and you never completed it when you were younger, but you did eventually complete that set, didn't you? Because I feel like that was another like big part of your re-entry and hobby, if I remember right.
That has, that story has meaning that goes well beyond anything to do with cardboard. I mean, that was, So real quick context, Justin knows more of this and nobody else needs to know, but the job that I had before the place that I worked, like I just knew it was time. Like we had known probably for a year that it was time for me to move on to something different. And it was just not healthy in a lot of ways for me. But we were met with a lot of opposition as far as it's good to be wanted. It's good to be wanted, but at the same time, like a lot of people just people think they know what's best for you. And then they tell you, or they tell other people, and you find out. And so we've all been there. But this was about a year of a year-long exit from a job I had been at for 11, and with really close connections and deep relationships with people. But one of the last things that I went to was actually a wedding for one of the kids that was in a group that I led and or helped out with at the time. And so she got married, and we were sitting around the table with several couples. I don't know if I said it was a church that I worked at, but several couples from the church, and Tom and Darlene were there, and then Marty and Andrea, and we were talking about investments of all things, and how frustrated I was, especially when I knew I was leaving. Especially how frustrated I was with just like selling a house and where to put money. And I'm like, I just wish I could invest in cards. Like, I just want to invest in cards. Like, I'll be very strategic, but Sarah won't let me. But then Marty, and
this, by the way, is the same Marty that I referenced on the last episode about the Nationals. So when you talk about connections in small world, this is actually both of our buddy. He runs the card shop. He's the guy I hung out with all day. Speaking of people putting it in your ear to pull the trigger on a card, he's probably responsible for me going, a little over my budget at the National, not too much over. Made it up in selling, but just had to sell an extra card to get back to what Marty talked me into. But it is that Marty.
That's great. But at the time, so that's 2016 that I left. So it's the summer of 16, and I have no idea that Marty knows anything about cards. I've had both of his kids in youth group. I had no idea that he was into that, or at the time, actually, he really wasn't. But he had cards from when he was a kid, and so I brought up this story about this 1978 Tony Dorsett. My teacher's husband traded me, and all of that. And I said, I started collecting that set a little bit. He's like, well. He's like, I think I got some 78s in Andrea's closet. And I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, yeah. I'll, if she lets me, I'll go look for it. I'll go look for those. And I was like, that'd be awesome. And this is like a month before I left. No joke. I mean, the conversation didn't go much beyond that, to be honest with you. It was the day before. I think it was literally the day before my last day in the office that I get a transfer call from the secretary, and she said, Marty's on the phone. So I talked to him. He's like, "Are you in the office?" I was like, "Yeah." This is like 9:00 in the morning. He's like, "Mind if I stop by in a couple minutes? Andrea and the boys and I got something for you." Like, okay, sure, yeah. So he comes in, and he's holding a blue binder, and walked into the office, and I had a high top table with stools and stuff, and he puts the binder on the stool, and he says, "Just a little something that to show our appreciation for your time served here, and just being there for our family, and just something the boys and I, we really enjoyed getting this together for you." And so I walk over, and it is in the sheets. It's the complete 1978 Topps football set. And he looks at me and he goes, "There's another Tony Door set in there too." I was like, "You got to be kidding me, Marty!" Awesome. Like, yeah. And I was like, "Is this all from your collection?" He's like, "No, not all of them, but he said we had a lot of fun tracking these down, and so take it as our appreciation." I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, so if you take into consideration, like, just emotionally the weight of just in the gravity of the leaving a job and all of the strings that were attached to that, like, that was like, in a lot of ways, it was just like affirmation that, you know what, there's bigger stuff going on than this. And, we're cared for, we're loved. Oh, and by the way, I have the complete 1978 Topps set that I started collecting when I was in sixth grade. So yeah, so I actually have the binder. Let's see it. I haven't touched it. This is the exact, binder.
That's awesome. I've got to flip through this set before.
Yeah.
But I like the 78. There's some good, there's the Dorsetts in there. There's a couple other Hall of Fame rookies. Dorsetts right there. I think Fred Dean's in that set. Is Joe Klecko in that set too?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And I actually have a second of that card too. Yeah, but he's in there. No, of course, no logos on the helmets. You do? Of all the
Hall of Fame rookies I do not have a Joe Klecko.
Oh my gosh. I think I have one for you. I mean, it's not graded, but yeah, I might have one for you. And there's a cool Peyton in here too.
78 Peyton's a nice card. Walter Payton.
Fouts is a cool card. Steve Largent in here.
Yeah, that's a second year Largent. His rookie's the second set. So, but it's more that, like, you know what, that really speaks to the fact that this hobby goes well beyond cardboard, and it can just be so meaningful, right? It can create so many connections, and the cards themselves can just mean so much beyond, looking at a guy on a piece of cardboard. And that's really, I feel like, again, something that, at least in some sectors of the hobby, does get a bit lost. And again, there's nothing wrong with, thinking about value of cards, because I think of the value of my collection. I was actually talking to Nancy about this today, that some of the stuff that I have has gone up. I'm like, should we think about selling it? It was so funny. She's like, for all she talks about my cards or whatever, and all the, shtick that I give about her not liking it, I was actually literally talking, I'm like, if some of this stuff goes up much more, I have to sell it. She's like, that's stupid. I'm like, why is that stupid? She's like, does cards still make you happy? I go, yes. And she goes, then that's stupid. And if we obviously needed, if we were in a financial situation where we needed it, that would be different. But I mean, at the end of the day, it caused me to think. It was great timing. It was like 20 minutes before I jumped on with you. I'm like, you know what? Like, what would I buy with that money that would be substantively more meaningful than some of these cards I'd be giving up? Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I think one thing that you and I share in common is I feel like we're both very, in some ways, romantic about our collections, and just their, the cards reflect. And people who aren't, in the hobby don't understand that. It might sound crazy, but I do think, I know in talking to Will and John, I mean, John in particular, he and I had a conversation not long ago talking about just joy, how the hobby is, like, really at its core, like a pursuit of joy and finding your joy within it. And I found that to be very, very true. I think he sent me a message about that as I was, like, sitting awake it was like 9:30 and the rest of the family had gone to bed early, and I was just sitting there looking at my cards. And it's like, I do find joy in this, and, for a variety of reasons, but I mean, just the connection to those pieces of cardboard. For some of them, for nostalgic reasons. Some of them because I feel like I'm holding a piece of history. Some of them because where I've got it from. I still look at that Topps, that '89 Topps traded Barry Sanders. I remember where I got that card. So that's really I like that story a ton. I feel like that speaks to what I think is a really important part of why we, at least, we do what we do.
Yeah, I mean, like you compare it to like getting like a gift card to a restaurant. I mean, those are nice too, but it's like there's something, I don't know, there's something obviously different. And like you said, you look at a certain card and it just takes you back to maybe watching the game with your dad, or in my case, several times with my cousin. Like anytime I see Barry Sanders, it's like, oh, that takes me right back to just on the edge of my seat every single play he was on the field moment.
In the case of my dad, it's that 35 Schickel Dutch Clark card when I read the back about the drop kick.
Yeah, it's a drop kick.
Talk about the drop kick. Love the drop kick.
I feel like I've almost got Sarah convinced that I can get it just because of that description of the drop kick on the back. I don't.
Probably the only thing that we'll say about value or smart investments during this whole conversation is, and I've talked about this on some other channels too, those 35 Schickels, if you're going to get them, I'd say get them because they are going up. That is one set, the Schickels, and then some of the 48 Leaf stuff is in vintage football is just really kind of going upwards right now. So I feel
like as long as you hang on to it and you don't go ahead and pull the trigger on selling anything for that, as long as I can touch yours every once in a while, I think we're good.
Yeah.
So.
That would be one of the last ones I'd let go of, is that Schickel Dutch Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, if anybody on here looks at my Instagram ever, that's one. I think I put it as my number 9 card in my collection or something like that, 9 or 10. So that's a top 10 card in my entire collection. That one's staying around. But all that to say, I'm trying to push for you to make a good argument to Sarah for it as a wise investment. So
I appreciate that.
But one thing too that's really cool, and why I think that you are another way in which I'm trying to model my hobby journey after you is you've got your son neck deep in the hobby, which I think is so cool. So what's that kind of been like, getting to introduce him to the hobby a little bit and find that he really, because I've gone to shows with him, he's a wheeler and a dealer too. He always walks out with the best deal of the day. So what's that get him to be into it a bit?
Plus he's cute. He's got a cute smile. So I think that kind of gets people, but at the same time, like to that point, like the dealers, and it's not there's no ulterior motives, but I think in their purest of hearts, they just want kids to have fun too. Like, I mean, that's all they're going for. So yeah, he has gotten what he might consider steals of deals. Both times we have gone to the card show together, but yeah, I think it's just contagious. I mean, like whether he likes it or not, he's grown up on Barry Sanders highlight film, and fortunately we have a lot of them on YouTube now these days. Because before it'd be like, oh, I got to pop in a VHS with a 1991 thumbs up highlights, but yeah, so there's that. And then, man, just coincidentally, when he's the same age that I was growing up and I got introduced to football, all of a sudden, 30 years later, the Lions are relevant again, and they actually have players that you want to root for, and you can get aligned with their story and their mentality, and they're good. So he got latched right on to his rookie year. He got latched right on to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then since then, obviously Jahmyr Gibbs has been like, I mean, just I never thought that we would have a running back in the NFL that would be like even close to keeping you on the edge of your seat, kind of like Barry did, let alone on our team. Yeah. And yet here we are. So yeah, that's been all attached to him, and also like he has kind of a place in his heart for the Steelers too, because as Lions fans, you got to have a backup plan, a contingency plan come NFL season most years, until the last few. So our family's always been like a second rate Steelers fan. So he kind of he likes some of those players as well. J.J. Watts, and definitely been influenced by his mom in the Troy Polamalu era.
Oh yeah.
Well. So yeah, but no. So he he loves so it was 22 and then 23 that we came over and stayed with you, and again, I mean, just awesome memories. I mean, it's just a couple nights and we're back home, and But yeah, it's really, really cool experience to be able to do something like that. Overwhelming at first when you first walk in, but once you narrow down who you want to go to and who you're looking for as a dealer, and what you're looking to get, like it becomes a lot more manageable and fun. So,
and that's why I think all shows should go for more than one day, right? Get your bearings. And Chicago Sports Spectacular, it's not the national, but it's a pretty darn big show. I mean, so you do need a bit of time to go around and see what's there. And we've always come out with some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
On that note, I was going to say, good time to segue. I wanted to see, I'd ask you to bring out your top 5 favorite cards in your collection. But if Isaiah is hanging around somewhere in there and got
I saw a hand reaching for the Switch a minute ago. So
is that was his hand?
Yeah.
Tell him to come in and show off a couple of his cards too.
He did put out a couple of cards that he was like, if they ask, I'll maybe have one ready.
He was ready. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I just think it'd be cool to see a couple of the things he has as well, because it's such a unique thing to have, a case where you're so into the hobby and it's really clicked with him too, and that's been, I don't know, cool for me to see and hang out with you guys at shows and stuff like that. And I know he's actually got some fantastic more modern Lion stuff.
Yeah. Hey, want to say hi, buddy?
Hi, Justin.
What's up? There he is. What's going on, man? Yeah, this is Jason's son, Isaiah. He's been to several shows with us. Yeah, man. Thanks for jumping on. I just thought maybe if you have an Amon-Ra or Jameer or something on there to show off before your dad shows off his top 5. Let's see a little bit of what you got.
So I'll start with 6. I'll start with...
We'll go quick.
Yeah. I'll start with the 6th one.
Let's see it.
Vintage.
Oh, it's lesser known brand. It's like a...
Oh, yeah, that's the throwback USC Amon-Ra rookie auto. Now, if people are familiar, Amon-Ra St. Brown is an all-pro wide receiver for the Lions, and literally, I kid you not, Isaiah has the best Amon-Ra collection I've seen yet. So.
And I picked this one for my next. It's the Jameer Gibbs in the new uniforms.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you pick that one up at Marty's shop?
He didn't. No, he got that one. He got one for Christmas. Nice. And the big intriguing part was just that they had the new better uniforms on. So yeah.
And then the next one is his high school card.
Was that the Amon-Ra high school auto?
Yeah, it's the 10 out of 30.
Oh, that's nice. That's a sweet pose too, with him jumping in the air going for the ball.
Yeah, and then we'll get to...
You should probably do this one next because I think Justin will recognize that one.
Oh, yeah.
What do we got? Oh, Nate gave you that one. My brother gave you that one, didn't he? That Amon-Ra. That's a rookie too. That's a rookie patch, isn't it? Is that National Treasures?
Yeah, it's the one out of 99.
That's
number
sweet.
1 out of 99.
That's the number 1 too. That's a nice card. Man, why did you
Nathan didn't know what he was doing. I mean, or he did, and he's just being super generous. So.
I remember it. He just said, I don't collect him, so, here you go. Yeah. So.
I got this one at the first card show.
Yes, you did. So for some context, that card is actually incredible. That is the SP 2003 SP Troy Polamalu rookie, number to 2000, if I remember right.
Let's see.
No, it's over here. It's
2200.
2200. Yeah. That's actually his PSA set registry rookie. So that's like his, and you got it from our grumpy friend
CJ.
AJ.
Or AJ. That's right. Yeah. I hope AJ doesn't watch this.
More than he liked me.
He'll never sell me anything again if I call him CJ instead of AJ.
And then here's the card from the second card show.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
That was one you got a great deal on, that Gibbs auto.
Yeah, that was a big deal. He was being very generous.
He liked you.
Yes.
Well, that was before Gibbs blew up too. It was like I remember the rest of that year after Gibbs really took off. I remember thinking, dang, Isaiah got a steal on that, because that's a sweet card too. I love the design of that. I'm a big Illusions fan actually. For modern sets, I like Illusions a lot, so I thought that was a cool card when you got it.
It was, and that's a 120, 125, so 87 and 125. So that's pretty neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
what's your best memory from going to the card show with Justin and Nathan? Well, Nathan couldn't go the second time we went, but
he didn't go. Yeah, it was just us that last time.
I usually after we go to the card show, we talk about it. It's really fun. I love it.
We would literally sit down in the basement. My basement back in the old Chicago house was this big unfinished basement, and that's where I kept all my cards. We'd go down there, and we would literally just sit up down there talking about cards for 2 or 3 hours after the show. And I agree with you. And I think that's a hobby right there. It's like we collect pieces of cardboard, but it's really more of a mechanism for forming these relationships, having these conversations, and just getting to have a reason to hang out. It was a great reason to have you guys up and. I could use an excuse for Nancy. We've got to go to the card show, right? So, but yeah, I remember talking about all our pickups, going through all the boxes I had down there. I remember you found some stuff in my boxes I didn't even know I had. So that was. I remember you got a pen.
And some of them he told you about. So.
Some of it, I saw him go in the pocket. No, man, that's awesome.
I thought you were going to say BLT pizzas, but
oh yeah,
that too. Yeah, Riverview Pizza for anybody in Algonquin, Illinois. That is some fantastic stuff. All right, so that was those are some sweet cards. But now we're gonna roll over, and I want to see what the Godfather's got for his top 5. I was kind of thinking, I feel like I know probably 4 of them more or less, but I'm curious to see what you're gonna throw on there and if there's an order to it.
There's a bit of an order. Well, sort of. I took some liberties. So there's some that are maybe I snuck another card or 2 in to
See, we have not shown nearly enough cards. I feel like when I'm the host, it's there's fewer cards shown. Because when I'm just on here, that's what Will always tells me. It's you show so many cards, not in a bad way, but and I think I do that on other channels when I'm on there too. So cheating is most welcome, so we can get the card.
Okay, I thought if I could make the rules, that's what I would say. So because every card has a story, so sometimes it's more than one card that makes that card story. So 100%. The first one's not going to be any surprise at all. It was the one that kind of changed, I think, probably the path that I was going down as far as cards, because I would have had nothing but junk without my teacher's husband, Tim. So it is, of course, the original. The original. I'm trying to get the glare off, but there we go.
There it is.
And I want to note that I think, no, I can't say they all are. Most of these are going to be raw because I don't get cards graded. At least I haven't at this point. I know Isaiah wants to get some graded, but this is in the original case that Tim gave it to me. And
that's awesome.
It's one of those old cases that have the slot right there in the side. There's no magnet. It's just, I feel like I can't move this card. It has to stay where it was when Tim put it in there. So, but yeah, so Tony Dorsett's 1978 rookie card as Tim traded it to me. Awesome. I thought about bringing up the Hank and the Shaquille O'Neal, but I was keeping it vintage football today. So
there you go.
So yeah, there it is. The one that kind of started the vintage path.
It's a nice copy of that card too. I've seen it in person. That is a nice copy of that card.
Yeah.
It might not be a 10, but it's pretty well centered. Yeah, the top right corner has a little going on, but I'd be surprised if that were any less than a 6.5.
But these, I mean, obviously this set has a lot of centering issues with it. So that is actually, pretty well centered.
That's very well centered.
So that's the first that I had to bring to share. And one more thing about this card. I'll sneak this in really quick. I know we got to probably be quicker on this one, but I did use this. I did mention that I worked at a church, and I did use this card in a sermon illustration once. So this card has actually been on stage with me
awesome.
Preaching.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The second card is it's actually I have the card that I mentioned earlier that was the gateway to the other card that ended up spawning whatever has become of Justin the Collector here. So, which sounds like Nancy's forgiven me based on her recommendation to hang out to those cards. So.
You know what? I joke about her all the time on here, and she has no interest in sports, no interest in cards, but I'll tell you what, she is a fantastic sport about all of it. She does love it. It makes me happy. And, and ultimately, trusts that all stay within confines of the budgets we discuss.
Right.
And as long as I don't go outside that, and, as long as all of a sudden, like our, new baby who's coming in October doesn't get, a new car seat because I went out and bought a Barry Sanders auto, as long as that's not happening, she's good with it. So yeah, I think you're allowed back on the house again. Isaiah's allowed.
There are worse. I was going to say there are worse. Oh yeah, good. You're in. There are worse things to put money towards, I'm sure. So this is the one of the 3 cards that I picked up in that crazy winter where we had like, I don't even know, like 13, 14 snow days at school. And this was the gateway into the card that I bought 7 of, and 1 found its way into the hands of Justin. So so we blame the Spielman card for this, and then we blame this for your collection.
Whatever's transpired with me. Yeah. That's for every rabbit hole I've gone down since then. That card right there is the origin of it. But you know what? Yep. The score rookie, the 89 score Barry Sanders rookie, is his iconic card. Everybody knows it. It's in the YouTube Football Card Hall of Fame. All that. Yeah. I like the look of this card just as well, if not a little better. Now, the iconic nature of that scorecard, there's something to be said for that. I do love it, but man, just on looks, I like the look of that Topps traded Barry Sanders.
And the cool thing about it, I mean, I kind of like because they're both, these are like, this kind of shows you who they are. Like no helmet, I mean, he looks like just a grizzly old man, like on there on the sideline. And that's how he plays.
The 90s linebacker.
And Barry just looks unassuming. He's super calm. He probably just woke up from a nap, in between defensive snaps. I mean, like it represents like kind of their personality.
Yeah, I think so too.
And plus, and this is going back to like the vintage stuff. Like this is 89, so now it's, I mean, obviously considered vintage now, but this is the older style looking card. I mean, like even the scorecards look more modern, and Topps kind of held on to that more vintage look a little bit longer than some of those other like Fleer and stuff that entered the foray or whatever. So that's number 2, technically number 2. Fast forward to I think probably 2021. This is when I decided, okay, it's time to go true vintage here. And let's start looking for some Lions in their Lions uniforms. So not necessarily even going back to rookies, but just Lions Hall of Famers in their first Lions uniform. And so this is the card that made me fall in love with what is probably my favorite set. I don't have a lot of them, but my favorite set, and it's the Bobby Lane 1950 Bowman.
And this is where great taste is shared. 50 Bowman is also my favorite football set of all time, and that's a great looking copy of that card. I just got one. I just got that one this year, a couple months ago, actually.
You sent it to me. Yeah, I remember seeing it. This one's it's a little bit darker. Like I don't know if it got, it may have gotten stained at some point, but at least it's not faded. And like a lot of times these cards can be like printed, like the layers are kind of off. So
the registration before.
Yep. So this one is, it's pretty crystal clear.
I was going to say registration looks good from here.
Yeah. So, and centering is decent, pretty good. Little round, but so again, and you notice it's raw. Like I haven't gone there. So
is there a reason for that? Just out of curiosity, not to go too far down a rabbit hole, but I do know some other vintage collectors who have stayed purists, so to speak, and done the whole binders thing. And for me, I think I've talked about this on different episodes, and I know I've talked about it on some Instagram post where there's different reasons for grading, and a lot of my reason is just display purposes and preservation. Sure. Because let's face it, I'm not sending 1999 Herman Moore Bowman's Best Refractor out to be graded because I'm going to go sell it and get a great return on investment. I probably would barely get what I put into grading for it. Right. But I wanted to. For me, that's my rationale behind it. But I know other people who don't go that route. So I'm just curious. Why you stuck with raw.
So here's the thing with me, like obsessive compulsive personality disorder is a real thing. And so if I do something for one, I want it done for all. I love uniformity. so that's one thing. So if I do that, I know it's got to be like all or nothing. Obviously not for every card I own, but obviously all the ones that are more meaningful. And I mean, so, and then once you start going down that route, it's like, where does that end? Because you're going to want to get more cards, and I'm not always going to buy them already graded. So the other thing is financially, just like, you know, I've already invested in the card, and hopefully it was from, you know, I did my homework on sellers, and so obviously there's always a risk. But at the same time, like, it's a card that I'm so pleased with, and as it is, I could technically take it right out of the case and touch it. You know what I mean? Like, I can hold it just like the kid who held it first when he opened it out of the pack or wherever they got it. And so there's something about that that's kind of cool. And then, and then just, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind putting it in a case of my own. And plus with the uniform, going back to the uniformity thing, you have cards that are, you know, you have a few cards that are PSA, you have a few cards that are SGC. You may have a Beckett. I mean, like, and the cases all look different.
Frankenstein collecting is what I think. He calls it. I'm a proud Frankenstein collector, by the way. I do not.
Great. No, whatsoever. And if I did go down that route, like, I would totally be okay with it. I would accept it. But at the same time, like, all these, I mean, basically they're all owned by the same company now. And so in some way, I just feel like this is just, again, it's just for money. So there's something about, like, keeping a car in its raw form that's like, I'm down with the system. I'm not doing it. So I don't have any intention in selling it. I'm not investing for financial purposes. It's more just the love of the sport and the history. And so those are kind of a few reasons why I don't. But if I had just a bunch of money laying around, I probably would. You know what I mean? That's probably the biggest.
I suppose the way we collect would always change a bit if our budget increased.
That's right. That's right.
But no, man, that makes sense. And, you know, and that's, again, there's no right way to do this hobby. That's the thing. There's no, you have to do this, you have to, and that's like, no, do what you like, do it how you like it. And the only thing I always say that, you know, if you're, you know, enjoying what you're looking at, you're doing it right. So if you're enjoying your collection, you're collecting the right way.
Yeah. So that's technically 3, we'll say. So number 4 is actually 3 cards. Okay. I slipped 3 cards in, Justin.
I love it.
If that doesn't give it away, I don't know what will. But 2022, first card show, Nathan was there, and Isaiah and I left to come back to Michigan. You guys went another day to the card show. I'm trying to remember if I told Sarah how much money I was going to take or not. But I think it was like, you know, Isaiah brought 50. I brought like a couple $100. We're not going to go over that. I think I'd gotten maybe one thing that I wanted while I was there, but there was nothing else that I was really like, I got to have that until I left, you know, like, it was on the way out. Basically, I hand you an envelope and I said,
yes, you did.
Joe, Jerry, and Jack.
Yeah.
If you can get Joe, Jerry, and Jack, that'd be awesome. And talking about AJ, that's who Isaiah had gotten his Troy Polamalu from. I think he looked around for a while, and then just went right back to AJ, the best vintage card dealer probably in the world for football. And so you asked him, and I mean, you could share more of this story if you want to, because I know that there was, you got a benefit out of this deal. That kind of goes back. I had to go to the back of the IGA for this benefit myself and pay for it, but you got it out of this deal. But I'll show the cards, and then you can maybe share part of the story. So of course, Joe.
Yep. And that's a good looking copy of that. I've seen that one. That's a good looking copy of that one. That's the iconic 81 Montana rookie, Joe Montana rookie.
Yeah. And so, like, growing up with Beckett's, this card was somewhere in that Beckett every single issue, just staring kids in the face, myself included. Like, you want me. You know, and I'm walking around and playing on the backfield in my Hutch 49ers outfit, you know, and out with my cousin and everything. So this was a big deal to have that. At the same time, I had a friend named Chris in middle school whose dad had some cards and would always rub this in my face when I went over to his house. And so
that was too. That's a great copy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, again, also the same year as Lomas Brown's rookie card, if anybody's interested. But I didn't bring that one up. So having this pair, I was like, okay, that's probably good enough. But going back to the Steelers and having a special love for linebackers because of, playing football and stuff, as you do as well, had to go with Jack Lambert as well.
76 Jack Lambert rookie. That is a sneaky awesome card. I love his look in that face. That just captures Lambert to me. But that's a great one, but especially those first two. I mean, if you make a list of most iconic cards of the 80s, to me, I know the Elway and Marino are there, but to me, I always think of the Montana rookie, the Rice rookie, and then the 89 Scoreberry. Those to me are the faces of the 80s. So yeah, those I got them from AJ, and I actually told that story on the very first episode I did of that.
Oh, did you? Okay.
That's when he gave me that Barry Sanders Pro Set rookie, and he said, "For all your complaining, let's say."
Oh, I do remember you saying that. That's right. I do remember you.
Yep, he slammed it on the table, and after a whole weekend of arguing with the guy, but I got you exactly what you gave me. The exact amount of money you gave me, I got those for. I do remember that. I don't know how much it was, but I remember that. So
yeah, and it was definitely lower than what he wanted to give it for.
I said it was for Isaiah. That's probably the only reason I got it. Actually,
that's right. That's right.
I did.
You sold the first one?
I did. I was the kid you like to buy.
Okay, here's a Barry too. The story is actually not even true. That's how it really happened. It was. No, so those. Oh, speaking of graded cards, though, I did eventually pick up the Elway and Marino in like a 6, and I think the Marino's in a 7. It's a decent card, but again, with gift cards, and those are graded. So I do have graded cards. Don't get me wrong, but just a few. And to that point, and I feel like kind of going with the theme of what we've talked about, through this whole talk.
That one looks familiar.
Yeah, because Justin used to own this one.
Yes, I did.
And so Justin texted me. Oh, I don't even know. Was it probably 2 years ago now? Because I think you gave it to me when we went to the second year, so 23.
Yeah, 23.
So this is before I didn't, because like I said, I didn't care about the Lions rookies when they weren't with their team, or even in their college uniform. I was just thinking like, I just want them in their Lions uniform. But you said, would you be interested in this? And I said, I mean, how much do you want to sell it for? I don't know, probably not. And so I kind of turned you down. And then you're like, you know what? I don't want to sell that card. I want you to have it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you when you get here over to Chicago to our house. And I was like, that is not the game I was trying to play, but that is awesome. I'm not going to argue with you. Thank you so much. And then just to have it. So yeah, this is one of, maybe 10 of the graded cards that I have. And it's all Justin's fault that I have this card graded. And I think we both agree on this. There's no way this is a 1.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing on that. That card is darn well centered on the front. Yeah, it's off center, but all of those 48 leaf lanes are centered.
The color is amazing. I mean, for how some of these cards look, this is
that's a 1.52 all day. That's one of the best looking ones I've ever seen. But you know what? It was what ended up happening was I had the opportunity to buy a 2.5 SEC 2.5 at a real good price, and I thought, you know what? I can just buy the 2.5 and sell the 1 to recoup some of the money toward that. But then I thought about it. I'm like, what am I thinking? I'm like, I want that card to go to you because you're the biggest Lions collector I know, and it's like that's where that card belongs. So yeah, so it was easy choice, no regrets there. But I'm glad it is still in that home because that 48 leaf lane, that is. That's the number one card that's not in the YouTube Football Card Hall of Fame yet that I want to see get in there. I actually think I told him because I was on live on my buddy Jeremy Lefty Groveland, his channel recently with Bart of Bart's Cards, who's one of the guys who runs the YouTube Football Card Hall of Fame. And I even said that on there. I'm like, this is the card I want to get in this year, this 48. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, that's a must for Lions collectors. So I'm glad it's still hanging out in collection.
And then it convinced me that year, I think, to go after the Doak Walker.
Another great
to have those 248 Leafs side by side is kind of cool, for the Lions 50s team. So, I did have one fun one.
Let's see it.
If Isaiah doesn't mind me sharing it. This is my bonus. This is my last bonus one. This is one that I've kept in my closet, like kind of up in top. So it's not actually with the other cards, but I was like, I can't let this go. It's not even a real card. We'll just say it's a one of one. It's a one of one.
Let's see.
And it's technically cardboard.
Let's see it.
It is in a case that actually fits the card. This is a card that Isaiah made.
Oh, that's sick.
Several years ago when he was, I don't even know. It was probably a COVID thing. So he would have probably been 6. I think he was 6 years old. Look at the cutting skills. I mean, I would say this is definitely a 4.5.
It's better cut than some of the 48 Leafs I've seen, honestly.
That's right.
So it's not that.
That's right. So yeah, I got this out today, and he didn't even recognize it. He's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "You made that for me, buddy." Like that. So that's this, awesome. This indoctrination's been happening for a while. So
see, that's where I need the tips. With my son being 2.5 and another one on the way, like this is what I'm trying to learn: is how am I going to get, hopefully my boys into it at some point. But
I think he knows more Hall of Fame names than I do, so I think you're on the right track. Yeah.
So, no, but that's awesome, man. We've obviously, as most episodes with me do, we've gone on a little bit, but the conversation, man, it's been great. And just what really comes through is just how much, you love this hobby and how much it matters and how much there's connection between you and your collection. And I think that's something that's really cool. And again, that's something I can relate to, and something that I think takes us back to, I guess, the era when we came up collecting. That was a major focal point. And it's not bad that things change. And it's not bad there's other things involved now, but it's nice to kind of, take stock and kind of get down to that root reason that we're in this thing. So that was, I don't know, I really enjoyed the discussion. Any last things to pass along? Any thing else you want to add, say, advice, anything like that?
Well, I hope that our conversation accomplished that. Just pointing that out, that it's there are different routes you can go with card collecting, but for me, it's always been about relationships. And anytime it's gone beyond that, it becomes more of an obsession that I'm comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I kind of put a governor on it. I think maybe intentionally, maybe not, just by chance. But I'm really not interested unless there's somebody that I respect and have a good friendship with, that's associated with those cards that I'm collecting. So I appreciate our conversations back and forth. If you pick up something, you send a picture of it, or if I get something, and it's just been an enjoyable way to just continue to maintain a good friendship, that otherwise we probably wouldn't communicate as much. It's just realistic. So
same with my brother. Like, we have a text thread with you, me, and Nate, and it's like, it's cards is the conduit for that communication.
Absolutely.
So it's like, and the same thing even on the show with like John and Will and everything. Like, that's how we all got to know each other. So it's just really cool how, it goes way beyond the cardboard, and it becomes about those relationships you make through the hobby. And I think
Absolutely.
That's spot on. Isaiah, you got anything else you want to take us out? Anything else to add?
No, not really.
You got anything you want to get next?
Yeah, what's your next card on your want list?
I don't really know. I guess I want one of the Jameer Gibbs vintage ones, if they have them.
Something that looks older?
Yeah. I like those ones. Those ones are cool.
Even if he has number 0 on it? We're not happy about the number change, Justin.
Yeah.
Happy about it.
Yeah, 26 was a better number. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't go wrong with Gibbs. That's a good target. So we've got a Jameer Gibbs, and we've got you hunting down that 35 Schickel Dutch Clark.
That's right. Yeah, forever. Yeah.
I'm not allowed to hunt anything else down this year, I don't think. I think my budget for the year is about gone at the moment. So that's fine. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Finally getting the Godfather live and in person, the source of my journey back into collecting, and just as you see, great guy, great friend. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, and I guess we'll mercifully let everybody off the hook here. So thanks a lot.
That sounds good.
All right.
See you, Justin.
Take care.
Bye.